What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna go over my one trade for today. It is gonna be the 930 short, the very first short that was presented this morning. So let's just get into it. I'm not gonna be yapping the whole time. We're gonna get straight into the point, straight into the sauce, right? On how I took this trade, right? So we're gonna start off with a higher time frame. So if you're in the free Discord that Gaddy has, I posted. I don't actually have Discord open either. Damn it. I'll just show you what I posted this morning so you guys can understand my plan, and then I'll walk through the plan once again. So Discord can pull up. Thank you very much. So here it is. Let's see here. Here it is. Here's the Discord, right? Fuck. Damn it. Here's the Discord. And here's what I posted yesterday. So this is what I posted yesterday. This is what I posted this morning. So it's a very simple game plan. My models are always very, very simple, very easy to understand. I'm basically, once again, if you watch my model video, you'll know this, but you're basically aligning a higher time frame daily bias candle, which is the weekly power 3, and then you're aligning an intraday power 3, which can be either the daily power 3 or the 930 power 3 for your intraday bias. And once the daily and intraday biases are aligned, or the weekly and the daily or the 4-hour power 3s are aligned, right, that's when you get your high probability trades, right? So I said this, monitoring this right now, manipulation above both midnight and Sunday's opening price, forming a high for both the weekly and daily power 3. We'll either look for 930 Judas or 10 o'clock or 10:30 continuation, because sometimes 930 can just expand, right? 930 doesn't have to give you that opposing run, right? It can give you some sort of other run, right? Or it just like expands straight lower, right? So 10 or 10:30 can give you that continuation. If the 930 high, you can't catch that 930 high, right? Which can happen, right? Not every single time we're gonna have a 930 Judas, right, off the start. It could just expand lower, leaving a short top wick. Maybe you can catch that on like a 30-second, but personally I stick with the 1 minute, but 1 minute time frame. But you can wait for 10 and 10:30, right? All about being patient in the market. So we can go over that plan right here. So we have Sunday's opening price right here, and then we have midnight opening price. Now, initially, I thought this low was going to be protected, but I switched that up by the idea. Why? Well, one, we have this opposing run, right? If this was going to be the low of the week, we should not get this deep opposing run, giving us that change in state delivery. This is what tells me price is shifting, right? Because if we're bullish, right, we should not be closing below up close candles, right? We should be finding support within them, right? Somewhere in here, there might be like a 15-minute for value gap. We should be finding support inside of there, not closing back below, right? And because of that, I was bearish coming into the day. I woke up at 8:30, so I saw this candle. I was like, okay, we're probably going to be bearish for the day. And then also we take out the low, which is the invalidation point that we set. So my initial validation was right here, right? But now I moved up here because now I'm bearish. And once again, this is above midnight opening price, right? So you see 12 a.m. opens high. So we're in a deep premium here. We're above this opening price, we're above this opening price. So we're in a deep premium right here. So we have the change in state, deep premium, right? And this is the high above the daily power 3, because midnight open is right here. We open high. This is the highest point from which we opened from midnight opening price, and then we expand lower, right? So that was basically the game plan. Quick explanation on that. Now, today was Monday. There's no news. There's CPI later this week. So probability wise, today was going to be a choppy day, right? Because let's just list the pros for this day to be high resistance versus the pros of this day being low resistance, right? Pros, right? Why should this be high resistance? It's a Monday, right? So we don't have that much structure to go off of, right? We have the least amount of data to work with. Because it's a Monday, right? We have the least amount of data to work with. You can't really look back on anything. We can look back at last week, but for me, my perspective is always on what happened this week. Second, no news, right? Third, CPI on Wednesday. So the closer we get to a high impact news event, the more likely it's going to be choppy, because people are waiting for that data to get released. And yeah, but then what could we say about this being low resistance? There's really nothing, right? The only way it's low resistance if it randomly is low resistance, right? So probability wise, high resistance. So high resistance conditions are good because bias doesn't really matter as much for these days when we're just stuck in a range, because you can just ping pong the whole day, right? You can go short here, long here, short here, long here, short, long, right? So bias didn't really matter coming today. If you're bullish, that's fine, right? There's bullish setups. Bias really matters when it comes down to those expansionary one-sided days, right? Because an expansionary one-sided days, any retracement, if you see that as a reversal, you will get cooked. That's really where looking at the higher time candles is really important, because on trending days, it's really easy to identify, because on trending days, you should have a high or low, and there should be no opposing high or low, right? So if we, on a day where we open here, high here, put in a high, right, and then we trend the rest of the day, there should be no low that's really high probability compared to this high, right? This high will be the highest probability, right? We will have a change in state and delivery, and this is obviously like a higher time frame candle, like a daily power 3 or weekly power 3, right? There should be no opposing low to counteract this, right? Trending days, we will have, strong probability lows and highs, so we're trading inside that range. But on expansionary days, this does not happen, right? We will just straight up expand lower and lower, and then you can clearly see with opposing lower time frame opening prices, you can catch these expansions lower, right? So that's basically it. Obviously, we'll get more into that once we do get some expansionary days, which we should get on Wednesday and later on. But to recap the trade, it was a 930 short. So this is the case where we get 930 Judas, right? 930 opens higher, which is opposing my bias, right? And then we get the order block, right? I take the entry off of the order block. My TP is a 1.5 risk reward. I think 1.5 is really a sweet spot for me, for prop firms, right? I explained this in the chat, but with prop firms, it's very the rules can be conflicting, right? Because you need to be under consistency rules, so you can't be making that much money, but then you also have to you have to have minimum winning days, so you can't just make like $20 and like, oh yeah, that's a winning day, I'm getting close to my payout. No, usually it's like 250 for 50K accounts, so you have to make a minimum 250, but then you can't make more than the consistency rule, and you have to farm winning days, right? You can't just have 1 or 2, you need like 5. So taking base hits is really beneficial, because taking base hits, make sure you're always under the consistency rule, right? You're making enough to secure those minimum winning days, and 3, you're farming winning days, right? Because you're just taking base hit, base hit, base hit, base hit, base hit, base hit, base hit. I'm sorry, can't speak. But with base hits, it's one, you farm winning days, right? Because it's better for your win rate. So you're just winning a lot, better for your psychology, and overall base hits are pretty nice for prop firms, right? So I take this 1.5 risk to reward, very, very easy. I get a pretty good fill. Even if I did get a pretty bad fill with the stop above here, I still would get 1.5, I believe. No, I wouldn't. I mean, realistically, my fill was like somewhere around here. This gets you a 1.5 as long as you hold, right? So, but overall, that was my trade. It was very simple. It was very simple. Easy 930 Judas, CISD entry, right? And there was other short opportunities you can take, right? This could be a double purge, right? Which is where you sweep buy side and sell side, and then you reverse, right? There are some nice shorts here. Overall, today was just a range bound day, so bias really didn't matter. You can bid on either side of the markets and you would still make money. So yeah, that's basically all I have to cover for today. It's gonna be an 8-minute video, 9-minute video. I don't like to yap too much, so yeah. So hope you guys found some value with this, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.